It's been an eventful week, a week where almost 20 African heads of state and the world leaders converged in the city of Nairobi, the place where Wakenya walitoa vyombo za wageni, carpets, vitambaa, and everything. I don't know whether I realized that we have never forgotten our roots of hii kikombe ni ya watu wageni peke yake. But anyway, before we get into the discussion, it's your biggest show, it's your biggest conversation. Of course, I'm your host, CEO Charles Otieno, alongside the beautiful
Dr. C. Dr. Catherine Masitsa. I'm CEO and founder of Samantha's Bridal and Samantha Wines. I really do hope that you have gotten yourself a bottle, and I'm sure you have because we are selling really, really well. Our wine is Spanish, but the brand is Kenyan. We truly believe in Kenya. And by the way, in the summit, if you attended and there was rosemary on your table, that was from my garden. I'm an avid believer. Yes. Yes, I said, what would be my contribution? I called one of the event planners, come and take all the rosemary from my garden and decorate the tables. So after the summit, I mean, we have to ask ourselves what's the contribution we're going to be with the environment.
Okay, yeah. There you go. I'm not doing anything for the environment except spreading my breath and giving you guys content that makes you smile and think. Indeed, I am as indeed Simon says. It's nice to be back here. Last week I was missing, but indeed it is good to be back on Let's Be Real.
And of course, our new host today.
Yeah, I'm new. I'm feeling like maybe you guys will bully me a little bit. But yes, I'm Joyce Cheruto Keter. I wear so many hats. What brings food to the table is training and capacity building, but I'm a politician. I'm a new YouTuber. I'm a podcaster, and we talk to pace setters, change makers, and just leaders in their own rights to understand their story. Our hope is to contribute in creating the next generation of African leaders.
Podcaster?
Yes.
Interesting. Fellow podcaster, there you go.
And politician. I want to know why the donkey is tired with these taxes. So me, I want to know.
Okay. Madam Politician, karibu sana.
Asante.
Don't feel hinged. We are unhinged here.
Yeah.
But let's move on to our main topic today. I said, watu walitoa vyombo za wageni. You know the way, in African home, if you grew up, your mother would always tell you, usikalie hizi vitambaa ni za wageni. And those vitambas would be preserved. This week, us in Kenya, we provided a masterpiece of an event. It was well coordinated, well choreographed. All the leaders went. But the question is, it is an African climate summit. Before we go for the COP28 in Abu Dhabi or in the United Arab Emirates, I don't know whether we have achieved our goals for that event or ni vyombo tu watu walikula na wakarudisha masahani kwa store.
You know what's funny?
Yes.
I saw one of these ladies from the electoral, Apombe?
Rosemary Akombe.
Akombe, yeah,
Yes.
she had written that, Kenyans must be the biggest. She doesn't understand why we don't have comedy shows or films, big films, because somehow she was alluding, it's not my words, her words, to the fact that, we are really championing this climate change, but really, in reality, apparently, we are not doing much. And then I saw somebody comment, please, wacha kuongea, wageni wajatoka.
Too much. It's like, exposing too much.
I don't expose too much because the guests are still here.
Yes.
But I do think so that, Africa is one of the biggest continents that have really been affected by the climate change.
Yes.
We are really feeling it. From food production to the fact that we don't even subsidize our farmers. The European farmer is subsidized. We have things being forced on our throat. We have, in terms of even the funding system, the way the world money operates, and that is really being talked about. Why is Africa having a different way of repaying their debt and the other countries are not having the same? So we are really feeling this, and I think so that even the children in primary schools are feeling the effect of climate change. And what I like about our president is, I liked his speech. it was really like we are taking responsibility and we are doing this. I personally had it. He's just not an orator. He really said it well, and I think he owns it. And before that, already we were planting trees. So I think so that from where I sit, I plant trees in my garden. The rosemary I already mentioned, I contributed. No, for real, I love to feed like 1,000 people in one of the dinner settings. And so I think Kenyans really understand it.
Well, let's be real. Let's be real. The average Kenyan could care less about climate change if it does not affect their bottom line, and that's the truth. There's a lot of showmanship. Let me applaud you guys. Yes, he drove his that little car, that little thing that you even look at that little toy that you give your little 10-year-old. That he drove the e-car. That what is that? Now is that the dream car that every other Kenyan want to save up for? No. That's not going to happen. Are there actually stations with KPLC giving blackouts? Are we actually going to buy electric vehicles on average in Kenya in the next 5 or so 10 years? Let's do this. No, that's just a bunch of lip service, which is good, because that's what happens a lot of these times. Because guess what happened? We also had an agreement way back when I was born in the year 1990. That was a long time ago. We also had another agreement as Africans. What did we do? Lip service. And it's good to give lip service. Even us men, we give lip service to a lot of ladies out there, and it works. But then now here's the thing. When you actually even do a lot of lip service, it makes you feel like, oh yeah, we're working. We're doing something. We're getting somewhere. We're getting nowhere. We're just doing a lot of talking, which is actually okay, because this kind of is a summit to just talk about things that we actually hope to implement, but we're actually going to do those things. Let's wait and see in the next 20 or so, 30 years. Then we talk about maybe 2050, and we say, but it's that thing that we actually agreed on as Africans. But the one good thing I would even say is that now Africans have actually come together in one voice, so that now we're actually able to say, now, because I'm thinking that these summits are primarily like a bargaining chip, in the sense that we Africans, we want this. So when we go to UAE, we're going to be able to present this in one voice. All right? So as a bargaining chip to actually get resources to actually now be able to implement this. Now, whether those if it was implemented, that would be another thing. But what do you think, politician?
Well, well, let's give credit where credit is due, because for 33 years, this is the first time that the conversation has come home to Africa, and we are engaging now in negotiations and just talking about climate change as Africa. So that's a very big thing for Africa, and for it happening in Kenya, that is a big deal, that we were given a chance to actually host other African leaders here in Kenya. But my question would be, do Kenyans really understand what climate change is, really? So I'm happy it was brought here in Kenya, because then now we can actually interrogate whether Kenyans understand what climate change is to them. And because in climate change summits, they use very big words. Like when I was looking at the definition of climate change itself, you would see words like fossil fuels, and unashanga, what is fossil fuels really? And it's just makaa, it is oil, it is gas. So I think the language should be simplified for the common mwananchi. When you talk about greenhouse gases, what is that? I think they should just say carbon monoxide and other greenhouse gases. That way you're bringing the conversation closer to the common mwananchi, that ukitumia jiko ya makaa, then you're basically producing carbon monoxide that will cover the earth and thus cause climate change. So I feel like those are things that we need to interrogate as Kenyans.
So you're saying, and before Simon will come back to you, is about the unanswered questions which need to be done. Let me just maybe put it perspective about what this climate change is all about, and the genesis of ACL, African Climate Change Summit, which came to Africa, to Kenya basically. You know, the global south are the least polluters. Yes. The global north is the highest polluter. Africa itself, the pollution responsible in Africa is less than 2.5% of the total pollution in the world. The effect of climate change has seen temperatures in Africa rise by average of 2%. That's why in Kenya last year, Save the Child indicated that 287,000 kids were displaced because of harsh weather. What I'm bringing in is that the fact that climate change affects a lot of health. You cannot discuss about climate change and not talk about health. 90% of new diseases will be brought by change of environment. This climate, if you cut trees, if the big polluters continue polluting the way they are polluting, the brunt is that Africa, which is the least polluter, I said less than 2.5%, is the one who is the most affected. Then the irony, and I'm coming to what Simon said, which we call the talk shop. The irony is that these big polluters, we organize an African summit. They come in, they change the agenda. We have a declaration which is passed in Nairobi, which kicks out, and you could see the sideline events. There were very many sideline events which didn't take place. The health events didn't take place. The NGOs who are demonstrating, because those are the real people who discuss the climate change with an African interest. They are locked out. So they end up, of course, but you see when now the visitors come to your town, you must be magnanimous enough.
You saw those e-buses, by the way.
Yes, yes. You cannot start saying that bring all these people in. But these are the people who really understand. Remember, Africans know how to conserve environment. In Ukraine and the Western world, when they cut trees, they have plantations which they cut for. You plant your trees for logging. In Africa, you cut trees, natural trees, to make charcoal, which is wrong. If you want to burn charcoal, there are trees which you are allowed to plant in your farm. And that tree, when you plant it, you can harvest it in 5 years. They grow pretty fast, and burn your charcoal and sell. But you're not allowed to burn indigenous forests. But now, let me come to why I'm saying that this event had a problem. Now, biggest problem is it didn't discuss health issues. The declaration they passed to COP28, which is going to be in UAE, did not capture the African aspiration. Remember, Africans, what we are looking for, we are not looking for only carbon credits. We are not. We are not looking for to be compensated. You cannot pollute the earth and then we bear the brunt and then you give us money.
But
we are
or
saying,
shall we be allowed to pollute? Is that what are we looking for?
What we are looking for is that the North, the global North, must take ownership in reducing their emissions to harm us.
In addition to paying us.
In addition to paying us.
Yes.
You cannot say, I'll pay you. Remember, the African health systems are not as good as the global North.
But you see, CEO,
Yes.
because you're saying we're not looking at carbon credits,
Yes.
but we stand to gain the most because we emit the least amount of carbon monoxide. So we stand to gain from these carbon credits because the North will be paying carbon tax. And that's what President Ruto said, that let the commitment of paying carbon tax, let's actually make sure that they do pay carbon tax. And they can actually, I laughed when I looked at that article, a certain article talking about carbon tax, because Kenyans didn't understand. Walikuwa wanashanga, sasa Zakayo, sasa unataka kutuongezea tax ingine. Yeah, another tax. But in reality, it's those big industries that are in the North who will be now paying a very high cost to pollute, but that money now comes to Africa because
Can
we are
they
the
write
least.
off our railway tax?
No. That money comes now to projects in Africa like planting trees. That's why, again, okay, I don't have the president's brief, but that's why he's talking of planting 15 million trees by 2032. Because if we do, then we stand to benefit to actually get the money and develop sustainable development and other things. So, I don't know.
Yes, it sounds very transactional. Even what you guys are even discussing, it sounds very
because
transactional.
it should
Yes.
be.
But
because
money makes the world go round.
I agree that the carbon credits are good. And
Yeah.
I'm coming to Simon. The carbon credits are good.
Yes.
But we cannot allow people to pay you for polluting. You see, you will plant trees. I said that in the last 15 years, our environment has been affected by, if you go to Marsabit today, if you go to Kajiado here, you see this devastating drought which we are seeing every time. This El Nino which is coming. Even if you plant more trees in the next 15 years, the effect is here with us. And the worst effect is yet to come. Our argument is, give us that money, yes, we'll accept. We hope to manage it. And you know, we Africans, we don't manage our cashes correctly. You understand? What we are saying is that, what about these people, the kids I'm talking about? One, they'll still be displaced, isn't it? So the global north, on top of giving that money, what we anticipate from them is that they must also be told to stop polluting the earth. This earth they are polluting for us. As we don't need that money only, we need them to stop polluting. You see, it's like someone saying, I'll beat you and give you money, but you're harmed. Or I'll kill you and give your folks money. That's what they're telling us.
Oh, but then it depends if you like the beating sometimes. You know, the thing is, there's also that. But then even when you even mentioned about even now climate change, even the transaction aspect of it all, because even the summit, even I'm looking at it as a whole, even just as a normal citizen, looking back at it, all these terms and everybody spitting and everything. Yeah. Now, looking at it is that people are just looking at to get deals in a way you can actually now be able to have access to some funds in order to do a certain projects within our countries, and at the same time hold the North accountable for their actions. And yet even them on their side, they're also having problems, even now getting companies to even adjust and make practical changes towards even their Green Deal, or even towards even changes towards the environment. The issue even to the core is this: it just needs to make monetary sense. The average person is telling them that, please don't cut this tree so that now you cannot and stop using charcoal. But then now you're telling me, what alternative are you actually giving me? There are those alternatives that actually need to be implemented. Some people can actually see the sense in that what you're speaking is not some ideology up here that it's only for the big guys, but it's something that makes sense to me in my life. Not something that is just written and just given verbatim for the sake of like just speaking it out there.
You see, before Dr. C, you see what happens is that that's what we are saying, plant trees. And I believe we can plant trees. Our rivers are drying up. The net effect is that the common mwananchi, apart from the dry areas, if you look at our rainfall for the last 20 years, you'll see that the pattern has really changed.
Yeah.
And you can see our production. Most of areas now today, we depend on agriculture which is not rain-fed. We have to really move on to, and it's expensive for local people. Because these polluters have really polluted the earth for, have you gone to India? I know many people have traveled to India.
I'm not sick, I don't need to go to India.
If
You're not sick.
See, most people go to India because there's something.
Have you seen the way, before the plane lands, there's always a layer between the clouds and the earth, which it hits. Dr. C, you've seen?
Yeah.
That layer which really, and the air
it
there.
is so distinctive.
Yes.
Stinky.
I have a question.
Yes.
Even when it comes to, even you're mentioning about how you're saying that even there's the change of weather is happening. Humans, we adjust.
Yes.
All the time.
Yes.
That's the awesome thing about us.
Yes.
To what extent are these planting trees, is it really gonna cause any change towards even the climate, and even like, can you say that because you planted this tree, Kenya, all of you,
Yes.
This is
when is the climate going to really change in the next 10 years? Is it realistic? Because considering the fact the North is the guys, when you say climate, is a worldwide issue.
Yes, it is.
You see what I mean? So now even you telling me, Simon, and other people as Kenyans to do that activity, what extent is it going to really change the climate? And then now the thing is, or should we now focus our efforts towards adjusting to the change that's inevitable?
You mean like go to Mars?
No, not even go to, not go to Mars. No, not go to Mars. Actually make it. No, here's the thing. No, we are innovative as humans. We are innovative as humans. We constantly adjust. Even when new technologies even adjust. what we do is we constantly even change even our way we build our housing, the way even we do even farming, the way even we handle even our media aspect of things. We change the way we actually execute things. So should our efforts innately be to change the way we handle, we are going to adjust to the climate rather than trying to change the climate itself?
Wow. Anyway, you know, this is a very long conversation. Trying to end climate change, you can have a conversation. You know how many meetings and conferences? So we need to move on. But I just have one comment to make on this.
Go ahead.
I think so that the normal, ordinary mwananchi will begin to feel the effect. If, for example, all these people decide we are writing off, like China, one of the biggest emitters, says, okay, we are willing to carbon trade by writing off the SGR loan, yeah, in form of, and then our taxes go down.
Makes sense.
And then somebody else comes to say something, you know, and then we all begin to live equitable lives. Because what is going to happen is that we as Africans are going to say, okay, now let us also emit. If you're not helping us, we want to develop to your level. And I think Africa has really been great because we are not setting up those factories that can compete China and emit more. So they should write off. Anyway, talking about taxes coming down, are we really broke?
You or me?
Because the other day, as a country,
Okay.
come on, as a country, I think every Kenyan is feeling the effect. I mean, yeah, of in their pocket. Most, not everyone. I don't know if the politicians are feeling. Yeah. I don't know that. But the other day, the president was quoted saying, there's 50 billion lying around in the treasury, and the governors need to use it. So I'm just wondering, actually, I have been wondering, are we really broke? But then the other thing I'm wondering, do they not have a strategy? The other day, they gave money to hustlers who have not even paid. I'm a business person who actually pays tax, and I also collect tax on behalf of the government in terms of if I do VAT. And so business people, we really are the engine of this country. A lot of business people are complaining. And even the other day I saw, I think in one of the dailies, about how a lot of business people are not able to meet their loan requirements, you know. And I'm wondering, why have I not heard the president? Why is he talking of governors? Why can't they just put up that fund for business people who are already employers to reignite employment, collect these taxes on behalf of the government, even if they're going to tax? Right now, people are laying off. Businesses are laying off people. So what are governors going to do? Can they even pay the debts? Why are they not collecting the money? People are committing suicide because of the money the government owes them. So what is going on? Is being a politician takes away feelings you have for human beings?
I think, Dr. C, the president was being cheeky.
Educate me.
He was being cheeky. The government money from the exchequer has a, there's no single county today who has not taken their money from the exchequer. This is how government finance works. I think the government finance works in a very distinctive way. The budgets are passed and they're taken to the government. The governors do their budget and they send them. But these local or the governors don't have the capacity to implement all the projects. Remember, the money when it comes from the national government is taken in bits. You do not you're not just given 50 million and now you decide. No, you say, let's say it's Elgeyo Marakwet. We need 5 roads. We need this. We need this. We need this. That project is taken to the government, then it's tendered, and then the government disperses that money. The rest of the money which they give the counties is for salaries and remuneration of many other things. But it is not like walking to a bank and you ask for your money and then you decide, I want to give Dr. C this road to construct. No. So the president was being cheeky in this sense. He knows very well that IFMIS has not opened for the money to be taken to the counties. So the money, yes, is lying in the national government, because the way the money is transferred from national government to the local government have not been done. Yes, it is lying, but is it lying because these governors cannot use it? They don't have use for it? No. Secondly, when the money is taken to those areas, it has to be absorbed. There's an absorption rate which they determine. But some counties are too small. They cannot absorb that money the way it has been allocated. Even ministries return money. It is not only governors, even ministries, because of that allocation. You can be allocated money to, let's say this year you are supposed to feed 5,000 children, and you don't do it. You don't take that project up. So that money is taken back to the exchequer. So it is not true that governors have refused. That's why people are not being paid. Suppliers have not been paid. People are dying because of this money, because governors do not have money.
I agree with you, CEO. That's
what is preventing the money from coming out, if it is there?
If miss, it is a
so
system.
They don't have IT people?
No, it's the government which decides, because the government is broke.
But there's 50 billion lying
Where?
there.
Hold up. Let me hear what you have to say on this. Quickly, go ahead.
So I just agree with CEO that probably there are challenges that we clearly don't know, and these challenges, they need to be brought out by the Council of Governors and Treasury to tell us why isn't this money being absorbed by the county governments, because clearly they need the money. They even were asking for more money. That's why they had a 15.4% increment, billion. Shillings being increased in terms of the shared revenue for the county governments. So of course they need the money, and so many people, so many suppliers are not being paid, like both of you have said. People are frustrated. Wanashanga, mbona hatupati pesa yetu? And yet you're saying 50 billion is lying. So is it a matter of accountability? Are some counties not being able to account for the money? That's why the money is not being dispersed to them? Or what are these challenges? I don't know the challenges, but I'm sure there's a reason as to why the 50B is in central bank, as the president said.
Even as you mentioned, incompetence, because a lot of even the people that we actually put in those places of actually now being able to execute those transactions, even allocate and everything, are also incompetent even in themselves, even now allocating. So yes, as our county on Let's Be Real, we have allocated this much, and now we're actually, this is how the money is going to be used, and this is how actually we can actually absorb these funds that we're actually going to be able to allocate. And then also, is there a lot of issues even when it comes, is there still that friction between how even some governors may actually now be asking for funds but not actually receiving them? Because there can actually be that little bureaucracy in the sense that some people may be actually begging for funds. Hey, my county, which was not there supporting the government county, in the sense that has not actually been able to get, and yet my things are actually in order. Is there a little bit of that?
No.
Really?
No, not at all.
Oh, because I'm thinking a little bit of political bureaucracy can actually happen.
Because each county has a county physical plan that they give. So there's no way the government can hold your money and say, mku to support so you won't get your money.
Or delay?
No.
Okay, cool.
You see what happens? We have three governments in Kenya. The national government, and of course, the county government. It's a government on its own.
And then the third?
The third is local government, these small things which people do. The counties, not assemblies, you remember the former local governments. So what happens is that when the national government works with the local government, and it is in law, you cannot say, I supported you, I didn't support you. That money is not a favor, it's constitutional. It is calculated through population, distribution and density of each area, the requirements, this equalization fund, all these things. Then they are devolved functions, like health is devolved. You have to pay the doctors. There are functions which national government runs, which the county government runs, like education and all these things. So what happens is that if you cannot absorb the money, and I said even some ministries don't absorb all the money, because it is a structure. The government, for you to spend a shilling from government,
You have to be able to allocate it.
you have to allocate it properly. It is not like the way you sit in your house and your budget and think, should I buy seats? No, these seats will not make me money. Let me move this money to this one. No, no, no. If it doesn't happen, you return that money. It is reallocated again to something else. But we know your allocation. Each county has allocation of its money. If it's 3 billion, it's 3 billion. Why is it so stringent? It's because if you do not put stringent rules, governors will just take that money and do politics with it. And the money which comes to the counties is not for politics, it's for development.
And you mentioned IFMIS.
Yes.
You mentioned IFMIS, and you said the president was being a little bit cheeky.
It's cheeky.
Yeah, explain a little bit on that. What do you mean that he was being a little bit cheeky with the IFMIS because the IFMIS system has not actually been opened up?
You see, the president cannot tell you to pick your money. The money comes from the exchequer. It is a system. The president has nothing to do with the money from the exchequer to the county. Remember, the government is run constitutionally, and he holds that constitution. You see, so when he says, I'm saying he's being cheeky because he knows the challenges the country is facing. It's actually after Maandamano, if you look at our record for the central bank, this is the first time our economy has really grown a bit because of now there's no riots and Maandamano. There's a blip in our economy which is towards a positive side. But we are still not yet out of the woods. That's why when he goes to Western Kenya, he says, all these factories are dead. He needs to revive them. All the sugar industries are dead.
I get you.
They need 117 billion to operate.
Huh?
But I think
That's
it was
why it's given
also
3 things.
it was also an opportunity for
Yes.
the president to just show that this time it's not my blame. Yeah.
Yes.
I actually gave the money.
Yes.
And hamjatumia, because you remember the last time counties were coming to him telling him, we have not paid salaries, we need money, you have not not of course the president, but treasury has not
Yes.
disbursed money to county government. So I feel like it was checkmate for him, yeah. Just to
No, it's
So there's a
always-
lot more that we don't know.
No, it was
yeah,
just-
there is, yeah,
Listen,
for sure.
There's
Okay.
Ruto is a political animal.
president.
Yes, he's playing politics.
Zebra, do you think a zebra pundamilia ama?
He's a political animal. He's just trying to show these guys, I've given you money.
Yeah.
It's politics.
But what kind of an animal? Political animal.
We shall discuss that more. Let's go on a quick break right now. We'll be right back right now on Let's Be Real with a lot more real conversations just like these.
New Superstay Vinyl Ink from Maybelline, New York. Shake up your long wear with no budge vinyl color. Color lock formula. Up to 16-hour wear. New Superstay Vinyl Ink, Maybelline, New York.
Welcome back. Simon, why are you looking at me like...
No, today you've worn your bright yellow. I'm proud of you. That's actually good. You have a bright look on your face.
You know, I'm wearing the colors of the president.
Yeah,
Yeah, UDA.
Yeah, of UNDA.
Look at
I'm a hustler.
And I have a green. Me and you.
well, let's keep it up public.
I'm wearing this color to keep President Ruto in check as well.
You always
so
got...
we are in solidarity with
Uh-huh.
him, but also to keep him in check.
And that's true. And some people we also need to keep in check.
Yes.
And some people who are going out there and actually selling our little ones. This is a true story, guys. And it took foreigners to come here and actually expose this. What am I talking about? Well, at Mama Lucy Hospital, what happened was some guys were actually even caught, prosecuted actually right now because of a BBC documentary in which they were actually caught actually absconding their duties, and not only that, even going further, neglecting. They say neglecting, but they know what they were doing. They were holding children and saying that indeed this child is now up for sale, and actually going out there and bargaining them and actually bargaining a price with one BBC actual reporter. That is an actual thing that's going on within this country. Some people actually broke and actually turning babies into a business. Now the question I have for you guys is a serious thing. Let me even start with you, lady. Now when you actually now go out there and you hear this, and you hear this is a kind of business, a booming baby business apparently that people actually want to do, is how much prosecution do you think that these people should actually even get when it comes to now they're actually executing this kind of bad and seriously neglectful behavior?
So I'm happy that the people in Mama Lucy, they are actually in court.
Yeah.
And I hope that they get convicted to very many years in imprisonment. I don't know, according to our law, how many years someone should get. But what I would say is, I don't know, I have a question. Is it really child trafficking or child stealing? Because, you know, trafficking has a tag to exploitation.
Yeah.
And also just doing forced labor and sexual exploitation. And none of that. These are infants, and it's basically you're selling them to mothers, maybe probably a couple that is barren, and that's why they are buying that child. So is it really child trafficking, or it's stealing and selling the babies?
Are you trying to say because it's a willing buyer, willing seller, that it makes it somewhat okay?
No, no, no. I'm not saying that it is okay. I'm just saying let's not call it child trafficking, because they're not being trafficked to be raped or to be used as forced labor. These are infants. These are infants. So it's just stealing babies and selling them, of course, to people who are desperate and they are buying. So I'm not saying it's legal in any way. They actually should be convicted to many, many, many years.
I get you. When you think of trafficking, even yourself, on the guy's side of things, because the child in itself cannot necessarily move on their own. It requires someone to actually even move them. When you hear that happening, what, first of all, even you as a parent, how does that make you feel as a parent that someone is actually engaging in such activities within our own realms?
You see, one of the biggest businesses in the world is human trafficking. It is not Kenyan only. The genesis of human trafficking is that it is one of the biggest businesses. It's booming everywhere. Well, you cannot call it child stealing because you do not know the intention of these people.
Of an infant.
Yes, you never know.
Yes.
Forced labor. Mtoto wa 1 month.
You see, when you are selling,
Pornography or
when you are selling this kid,
1 month.
you see when they are selling, you know, the way you are putting it, Joyce, you've really structured your mind. I want you to think differently, because first of all, the person who is buying this kid, you do not know who it is. You're not sure is barren or not. You're not sure this is a business person who is collecting these kids, feeding them, and then selling them to an next person.
Grooming them, actually.
And
You know,
grooming
there's
them.
a case in Mombasa of a couple that gave birth, and then they were presented a dead child and told that this is your child,
Yes.
that they actually died. But it's also of another couple in the same hospital that actually lost a child and went home with a child who is alive. So that's why, to me, I'm looking at it from a point of, these are not actually people who are stealing these children to exploit them, but it's a case of, I am desperate, I have lost a child, I am barren, and therefore I need this infant. But of course, child trafficking is there in Kenya, where we are exploiting 12-year-olds in our house as house helps and forcing them to work in our houses. So of course, child trafficking is there in that sense, or even selling them off to the East, Saudi Arabia, where they go to work, and then of course their phones are confiscated, their travel documents are
Constipated.
Anyway,
But I get what you mean.
Yeah.
But even I get what you mean though, because in the sense that you're looking at the word trafficking and you're attaching it like a grown person because they're with the labor aspect of it all.
and
Now,
sexual.
when it comes to even Dr. Stephen, I just want to ask you this. You see now, children, now there's even when it comes, let me even speak on the side of the personnel, these people themselves. This personnel has now neglected their duties. They've actively made a cognitive decision that I'm going to actively now neglect my duty for the sake of cash.
Yeah.
With this now, with it, even how do you speak on the neglect of duty of these people themselves rather than even the child? What would you say about that?
Well, maybe I'll not comment on that specifically, but what I want to say is that Kenya has very tough laws as far as child care and even child neglect is concerned. It's one of those countries where it's not very easy to adopt. And there's been calls on if we can reform our law as regards to things like, you know, when you pay someone to be pregnant for you, surrogacy, things like IVF, we need a law around that. things like adoption. We need a law around that. So it's time for us to relook at the law. Yeah? What are these things about the law that make it very difficult? So there's issues of barren women and barren couples who actually want a child, and therefore they're going around to steal. Yeah? That is one thing. But there's another issue of human trafficking, where children, it's a very serious thing, by the way, that even me as a mother, with my child, if I go to the mall, I'll first of all go and check who is in that room first. And then there are people hiding in toilets.
Yeah, that is true.
To molest
Go with your
children,
child.
to traffic them, they change them. So there's a whole industry worldwide going on. These children are taken away from the country, and you don't know, are they being sold for their body parts? Are they being taken for some strange experiments? You travel to some countries and you realize in some countries, human life does not matter. Like, there is no dignity to human life in a lot of countries. There's many things we take for granted as a country. You don't know. It reminds me of a time when, I remember 10 years ago, I was pregnant with my daughter. And I went to this place. And there's this lady who clearly, she was adopting this child. It was an event. And she was smoking, not only in my presence, yeah, polluting my unborn child, but actually, she had a baby in a cot, an African baby in a cot, and she was smoking on top of this baby. Me, I just went to call the next police who was there. I told her, why are you smoking in front of this child? Where are you taking this child? And so she was answering questions like she was from, okay, I don't want to say the name on air, but this particular home was actually found to be one of those that was aiding, and they've been in court many times about this. So sometimes you wonder. So to date, I have never forgotten that child. I always wonder, if you're going to smoke on a child who is 6 months like that, what are you going to do with this child? Are you taking her for your kidneys to groom her so that she grows and you can get a kidney? Or there's so many things that live, and then this is what happens. So we have to be fair. You know, these things of corruption in this country, and yes, we are talking about child trafficking, but I just want us to see how this thing is going full circle. Okay? Yesterday, I read about the Consumer Federation of Kenya warning people about not buying bananas from supermarkets because they had been changed. And you're wondering, how is this connected? You know, when people are stealing and corrupt everywhere, yeah, you're not being paid, these things are just going around. Can you imagine the human being who goes to inject the bananas with some chemical? He knows very well this chemical is really bad, but I don't know what desperation, it's a criminal thing, yeah? And you who are corrupt, yesterday you're buying those bananas, thinking so that you're driving your Range Rover, you're flying in your helicopters, you're safe from this. It's a stinking house as a country. We are stinking. That's why this person neglected their duty, and I'm not justifying it. I'm just like, we have to see as a country, why are we getting so low? Yes, there are people who are criminals who will sell the children. But can we see our whole collective responsibility as a country? That person who is selling is not different from those people who are stealing money and not using the money correctly, not different from those people injecting, using the wrong fertilizer or whatever. It's the same stinking house. We need to sort ourselves out.
Yeah.
So I think Dr. Steve captured it very well. My argument has always been that the laws are there. Laws are to help us. But the problem is that Africans and our greed in these hospitals is a problem. Because remember a few years ago, this issue of miracle babies has been with us. You understand? I do not understand why someone can be, even your neighbors, when you're going, they know you've not been pregnant. All of a sudden you have a kid and your husband, so you've bought a kid from somewhere, they realize in this house there's a kid and this woman has not been pregnant. Why don't you raise it, an alarm to the police and say, our neighbor, for real, has not been pregnant for the last time we saw her, but there's a baby in that house. Because people go to churches as well. And the
But that's being nosy.
ex-miracle.
There's a boundary also.
No. You cannot have a baby who is not yours.
Nyumba kumi.
No, but here's the thing.
Yes,
there's also, but here's the only pushback I have against that. That sounds good in theory, like saying, but then now someone over now, you're upcoming my business. That could even be someone else. That even, hey, bro, that could be also be, are you a nosy neighbor? That would be like, why are you on my business? Like, mind your business. You know, there's also that barrier. There's also that barrier that you can also have.
Listen, in this government, in this country, there are rules. There's a chief, there's a headman, there's a nyumba kumi. These issues we are discussing are legally and bestowed on our law.
Yes.
Our law dictates that if your neighbor behaves in such a way, you have to come and say, you'll be living next to a thief and you're saying, you're not sure. You see, that's a thief, of course.
Coming from a divorced homestead, my earliest memories of visiting my maternal, my mother's village, we always needed to be accompanied by a letter, either from my father or a chief area. So if any strange children came to a village, the area chief needed to know. And I don't know as a country what happens. Strange children just like that, you needed to, and you cannot travel with children like that. It is a very, those laws are still there.
They're there. That's why you can't move a cow from here to Eldoret without a permit.
I get you on that side of things. But what I'm saying is that even there has to be like a little, in the sense that someone can actually overstep that boundary, try to be that little bit nosy and say, I'm just doing my civic duty to actually find out whether you are actually now a person where even you could just even have brought even maybe a cousin over or someone like that, and actually they stay maybe a couple of while, and maybe then you just housing them. That could be the case.
What you are saying?
I see what you mean on that aspect of things. Like, okay, of course, you need to be your neighbor's keeper and be aware of how things are going on to even curtail such vices going on when it comes to even child trafficking and so on and so forth. Yes, it is child trafficking. And what? Are you still against that?
Yeah, it's not.
But even when it comes to that, I see how that can be actually done. But don't you see how that can actually maybe a little bit of invasive, or you still with them, like it can be a little bit invasive when someone tries. You know, you can have a nosy neighbor who can actually be very, maybe because I have a little bit of like, someone can actually come up into my business and they're like, why are you worried about me? Live your life. Yes, there's nothing that's going on.
With a strange,
there's the other aspect of things, like you can actually be
Listen, Simon, with a strange kid in your house.
Not even it can start from, it doesn't start from a strange kid. It starts even from something small, or you brought him. Who's that new stranger that you brought to your house today?
How have you built?
Then
those are normal things. We are talking about human life.
Children who need our protection.
And there is need for accountability.
Yes.
You need to be accountable.
We are not talking about material.
Someone needs to keep you in check, your neighbor. So it's not about being nosy. And I'm just wondering, if we don't do that, then how are we planning to end human trafficking? Because some people are very desperate and they would engage in human trafficking because of desperation, and they need the money. So you need someone to keep you in check.
Yes.
Yeah.
I get you. I mean, I understand.
And you can even steal. With this thing, if it gets rampant, someone will just steal kids in the villages. You know, people can steal kids in the villages. Those ones who just play. And then say, come and take, I have this in the cars. And if we do not check it early enough, and that's why we have child protection laws, and they are strict in Kenya.
Very.
We are strict in those laws. That's why even legally, you cannot expose the face of a kid and all those things because of these things. Because it is easy. Our kids just roam around. You know, in African setting, our kids go and play very far. Yeah. We don't have distinct playing grounds. They go to the river, they fetch firewood, they move. And you are sure that the person who lives in the neighborhood knows that Simon's brother or sister and will take care of, because we are communally raising our kids. So if someone decides now that he'll hide a kid, the next time he'll disappear with someone else's kid.
CEO, you put it so well, and I'm wondering, in terms of human trafficking and people going to Saudi Arabia and Qatar and all the other countries, did you guys watch the football match between Kenya and Qatar? The stadium half of the stadium was filled with Kenyans. It's just to show you how many Kenyans are in Qatar. and it's not out of being trafficked. So of course there is human trafficking, but the reality is there are actually so many people who have gone to these countries and it's not a case of human trafficking, and they are actually earning a decent living in those countries. Yeah, that's what I got from the march. I was like, what?
Yes, what happens is that the Kenyans scored the second goal in the 90th minute by Amos Naundi. For those who didn't watch.
I did not
It
watch.
was Kenya
I would
playing
not
Qatar.
like
Qatar.
Yes.
Yeah, and they
But
won.
what happens
We
is
won.
that
We won.
yes,
Okay.
it was 2-1. What happened is that there are three categories of people who go to the Middle East. There are professionals, there are people who do security, and there are very many. But then
Security
there's
especially.
but then there's this other group who do house
Low
help
cadre.
and low cadre, who are not properly registered. It's not the problem of us, our girls. It's a problem of the organizations who take our girls to the Middle East, because they are not properly registered. They lie to our girls and they get fake agents on the other end. But these are the guys who are professionals. Kenya has exported a lot of manpower to the world.
Okay.
rich
And then
in
they become very successful. Now let's talk about success and money.
That sounds like a good topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wash, wash.
Yes. And wash, wash. And just wondering, why is it that when you make money, in this country specifically, it is very often associated with either your wash, your Illuminati, or you are all sorts of names. Why is being rich associated with evil?
What?
I don't think
Go
it's.
ahead.
I don't think it's being rich. It's questioning if you are rich, you are driving this Porsche car, you have this fancy office, you have this house that we cannot be able to understand. Umepata hizi vitu aje? You know, if we can be able to put 2 and 2 together and see, you're doing this business, you're doing Samantha Bridal, you know, we can be able to know where you're getting your money from.
You
But
mean like
to-
the Samantha Bridal wine? On that note, ununue.
Shameless plugs, ndio?
Yes, you have to do that.
So if we can't understand where you're getting your money from, of course we will question. We will think, lazima, you're washing money. Yeah.
Even a lot of times, even we Africans, we have a tendency of course, we vilify when we don't understand. In the sense that if you have achieved a certain level of success and you cannot be able to connect it, we immediately connect it to something that's evil, because we also want to console ourselves at the state that we're actually in, because we are not engaging in such. Because I am comfortable in the state that I'm in, I'm gonna console myself in the state that I'm in, because I am not engaging in a vice. AKA, you are rich because you are a rich politician because you stole. You are not a rich politician because you did business and hence you're able to connect 2 and 2 together. No, you are evil because you are rich because you've done something bad. I am in my state because I'm innately being a good and virtual servant, which is quote unquote even something that even praise even within even church, how they kind of say like God will even you are actually God will even bless you. They say that you're in, even like, accept what the Lord has given you, a level of contentment that they actually want to preach to you. They can actually be content in the state that you're actually in. I actually go against that, because that vice now will actually vilify you from even accelerating or even seeing what is it that this person has actually access to, and hence what steps do I need to take as an individual so I can actually be able to reach that state that we're in. Because that vilifying the rich can make you a very even a very distasteful person to even now constantly saying, but then even a lot of people say this, you see them, you know, they're happy, they're showing us on social media that they're very happy, but behind closed doors, they're actually now suffering, you know, they're also even going through so much. But woe unto you, there are a lot of rich people who are actually happy in the state that they're in and everything, even though they may say like, it's better off to be like, don't crying in a, what you call it, a Mercedes, than even smiling in a, you know, the quotes, there's so many quotes that we actually state to console our state that we're actually in, rather than flipping a mindset and saying that, how can I get out of the state that I'm actually in to actually now seek and actually be in a state that I actually want to be, and not vilifying other people and saying that, oh, they must be suffering. Oh, because now I want to make myself at peace. That's literally even how I see it like that.
So,
CEO, tell us.
Ama, you want to watch one?
Before I
Yeah, you're
You see,
watching money.
what I'm thinking is that, and I'll take it to a religious angle.
Oh, Lord.
When religion came to us and it impacted Africans, and part of the preaching we've had is about the rich man and the poor man. And the Bible says that it is easier for a donkey to get through the camel's
Eye of a needle.
the eye of the needle
Yeah,
than
then
for
it
a
is
rich
for
man
a rich man, yes.
to inherit the kingdom of God. And if you go to many of our churches today, that narrative, that verse has been preached and overpreached. So remember that masses of Africans are still in that state of poverty, and they're still struggling with getting money to get out of that state. Now, when the preacher preaches that Bible verse and does not contextualize it, in any of their neighbors who makes even 10 shillings extra is seen as Illuminati, he will not go to heaven. Now, what the preachers do not teach is that the eye of the needle is among the 12 gates of Jerusalem. It is not the physical needle, but they preach and tell us that you look at the camel, Jesus was not mad to give an allegory of a needle and a camel. If in a nutshell, there's no way a camel and a needle can be put in the same sentence. That needle, what people need to know in Africa, it is a gate. It is one of the 12 gates of Jerusalem. It was the last gate which remained open at night. And remember, people used to live in enclosed state. So now all the gates were being shut at night, but one gate was remained opened. In African setting, there's a side gate. That was the side gate. But since the camel is a big animal, you could not walk through with the luggage. So the traders had to remove the luggage and the camel to get in kneeling. And then you carry the luggage and then load the camel at night and then it moves. That's the parable. But Africans, being us, we always say in church, it is the eye of the
Needle.
but we don't say it's a gate. It is not the 12 gates. So now when Dr. C here goes to her village and she's Samantha Bridal, those guys cannot look at her where she was a young girl, and they say, "Ah, you ni Illuminati."
Who in Illuminati?
It's something.
This one,
Or devil worship or something like that.
because they cannot reconcile the two. But also they are thinking this one is not going to heaven.
Yeah,
But the
because
truth is, actually, many rich people will go to heaven, and those people they're thinking are Illuminati will go to heaven.
And you know, CEO, I actually want to chime on that, to just pick up from what you've said. A lot of people don't realize just how spiritual money is. Money is so spiritual in the sense that, look at it this way. People, you can have money, but you never buy because of, oh, it's cheaper, or sometimes you buy because of the feeling that you get, and you exchange money. When you have money, it means you made somebody happy. Somebody was happy you made someone happy until they got money, put it in your hand to take the product that you have. And I think so that, still talking about how spiritual money is, for people who are the Bible, even the Torah, and I think even the Quran, I think the first part is basically the same. You know, human beings were created in the image and likeness of God, and God is so powerful. We are not meant to be poor people. We are meant to be really abundant. And at the end of the day, look at even the richest people in the world. If you look at Mother Teresa and look at Bill Gates, who's made more money?
Bill Gates.
And who's made more people happy?
Mother Teresa.
No.
Yes.
Bill Gates has made more money, and he has made more people rich. He's had more impact through Windows. You understand? So it's about, even from a business point of view, I think when you wake up, in terms of riches and everything, you must ask yourself, what have I done to make God's children happy? Because if they're happy, they're going to pay you. Nobody's going to pay you if they're not happy with your product. And so money is a demonstration of the fact that you made God's children happy, and therefore they gave you their money. And once people realize that actually, and there's one religion, look at the richest, some of the richest people in the world, the Jewish people. Yeah? Look at the principles, the kosher principles they have around money. Let's even not go far. Look at the Hindu people. Do you know in the Hindu religion, caste are the poor? Because you were so bad in your past life. But blessed are the rich, because you were good in your past life. So therefore, there is no value, there is no praise in those religions in being poor. Yeah? When you're rich, it means you're really doing something so good. Look at their work ethic, because work, even in Christianity, is a form of, working on Sunday is not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, because you're going to make God's children happy. Have you ever seen manna dropping from heaven? God is going to use you or me to bless his children. So therefore, you will find that these people, their work ethic is so different from some people I know. Yeah? Because God forbid I become rich, I'll not go to heaven. You know?
I get what you're saying.
So money is spiritual. Very spiritual.
Here's my pushback
God.
on that.
Yeah.
Now you're saying doing good. You can also make money from doing bad. And it's okay. And the thing is, I even don't have a problem as long as even you don't get caught in everything. You can also make money from doing bad, even being the devil advocate, in the sense that you can actually, there are many even corrupt deals, you do underhand, please overprice this product, tenders. Shout out to you, tender brothers, I see you, salute. You're still making your money, good job. Now the main thing is, you have learned to work the system. There's also where we can actually be built to actually even work a system. That comes from even act of knowledge. So even saying that to you, you're doing God's work and everything, there are many crooked pastors out here. To you, you're saying, I'll just make you feel good with the word, and then at that now you just give me your tithe and actually do that. So always saying to G, you're doing good. That's a nice thing. Well on you. But that's not core ground. That's not always the case.
Imagine, it's the same. You know what?
That's not always the case.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a very, very rich hangman?
Hangman, the guys who hang in everything?
Yes, have you ever
I'm
seen?
sure back in the day it was a pretty sure good business. Even though even price, I'm sure even it put in a place.
No.
That's
There's such
back
a
in the
thing,
day,
you know.
back in
Let
the
me
day.
tell you something. And you know, sometimes we like to live in our cocoons and just think things are okay. There's such a thing as energy. There's such a thing that if you continue to do bad things to God's children, bad things will also happen to you.
But if you do
God,
bad,
yes.
But you can also do bad in such a good way that it actually even excels you and propels you.
No.
If bad behaviors,
Start observing. Those people who live by the sword, they die by the sword. So why not do just good things? And we are talking about, like, in the mainstream, we understand there are bad people. Those ones we are not saying. Even the devil exists. By the time we're talking of spirituality and God, the devil does exist. And
one day I will educate you about the...
No, I understand what you guys are saying. That's good. That's ideologically good.
It's not ideology. It's
ideologically good.
It's about impact. What are you doing to impact God's children, to make them happy? You will make a lot of money if you ever answer that question.
Okay, wait, before even you go, what do you think about this, first of all, when it comes to the money aspect of things? Go ahead.
I don't know. I am quite confused. From hearing all your viewpoints, I'm quite confused.
But here's the thing. Because my perspective, let me just lay it out, is the sense that innately, money is just something that's given once I receive what I want. And what I'm actually, you're innately saying this. Here's the innate thing. You're innately saying that people are actively seeking good, which is now not always the case. People can actually actively seek that something that's bad. And the thing is, if you're willing to offer that bad thing to that person and they receive it, innately, you have done a transaction. And if so many bad people actually want it, congratulations, you have built a wealth. And innately in itself, you have serviced a good itching feeling. Innately, some people may say that that's a bad thing, but you have actually serviced that need in that person. It does not necessarily have to be good.
Simon, what you're saying is very simple.
That's it, yeah.
You're saying that, and I understand you. The argument has always been, and I'll just go back to the Bible. The earth is our possession.
Yes.
The earth is our possession. But remember, Satan was also brought where? And he sits on our possession.
Yes.
Do you read your Bible? You know, do you know where I go? You know, I'm very
But I
spiritual.
drink my wine. Go ahead.
Samantha wine, not just wine.
So let me say that in every essence of life, there are crooked people. And they're there, even in pastors are there. We have crooked pastors. But there are people who are real, people who are good. And that's why I started by saying that the Bible teaching says that about the camel and the eye of the needle. And I told you that people misinterpret the verse and say it's a needle. And when you look at the needle and you go to church and you are rich and you're the only rich person in that church, and the pastor says, like, blessed are the poor, for they shall see the kingdom of God.
You will rot in here. There's nothing funny.
And then he says, remember the eye of the needle. It is difficult. And then you're seated there and then you start fidgeting. Because you just imagine, you look at the needle and you look at yourself and you say, anyway, this heaven is not my portion.
Yeah.
See, all this conversation is so interesting about money, but
Yes.
I don't think we'll actually come to a conclusion. So let's go on a short commercial break. We'll be back. Let's be real.
Welcome back. We are having a blast, the biggest conversation, of course. And of course, we've brought in religion in there. If you don't believe, shauri yako. But let's move on to Joyce.
Actually, I think, Dr. C, you had something.
Yes, I still have something passionate
eating
to talk about.
What?
This. You know,
Religion?
because these, no. Actually, these Illuminati, wash, or whatever thing, it's so bad. It is really, when you talk to a lot of people who are successful, they will tell you, they'll tell you every one of them has been referred to as one of those things.
Yes, yes.
And it just goes to show that Kenyans actually don't believe you can work hard
And make money.
and make money.
Yeah.
They don't believe that. Every single person I know. I remember there was a class that went to Nigeria, one of the Strathmore classes that went to Nigeria, and a couple of people said that their relatives are like, you see, we always tell you, what are they going to do in Nigeria? Because everybody thinks Nigeria is the root of
Evil.
of all these juju, whatever.
yeah.
But what am I saying? I'm saying that, and this story came from the WhatsApp. Was it somebody on WhatsApp or on Facebook who posted that they've built a house in the village and all their relatives, including the chief, had to call a meeting because it just became a really bad thing in the village. Everybody thinks he's a wash, he's an Illuminati, and he was just really being bothered by that. He's bringing development. What was the name of that influencer?
Malwa.
I am Marwa.
Yeah,
Marwa.
Marwa. Yeah.
And this is a problem a lot of elite Kenyans are actually facing. But it also goes to show that, you know, earlier Busy, I think, had mentioned that I actually wrote a check in a month, a 300,000 check to a makeup artist who had worked on my face for a particular show I had been on, and that was just within a month. I paid even more. Who would believe a makeup artist would make that amount of money? Photographers are making money. YouTubers are making money. And I think so that Kenyans need to see the newer ways of making money and believe that you can actually sell charcoal on the street, like Njenga Karume. He wrote a book. We need to read books and see how did they make. It's a really serious issue. And that's why people are just getting into office sometimes to steal money because they don't believe we can make money out of business.
So before Joyce comes on, I think, Dr. C, it's okay. What the problem has been, when you build a big house in the village, extremely big, and the neighbors are too poor, You must understand that they will talk like that. Because even if you go home today, and that's why you're told, look at the environment and just build a modest.
Hey, look who is talking. You guys, Kisumu.
Yeah,
Dala.
yes.
And then now, the number one thing that when someone asks you, but then how did you get here? Then the response that you give, ni God. Ni God, man, ni God. And that's why people get confused. Now, when you say that, now you had a very interesting topic.
Yeah, that's why.
Sorry, Joyce, let me just say, respond to this ni God thing.
Yeah.
Because what also people don't understand is that all of us are just trying.
Yeah.
We sometimes we don't even know what we are doing, whether it will be successful or not. We are just trying. And when it works, we are like, oh my God, it actually worked. We are praying and trying. And that's why we say, it is God.
Ah, you hear.
Everybody just trying.
So as we talk about money and God, thanking God for this money, making money, washing money, I think we should also just talk about WorldCoin and people being paid or being promised 7,000 shillings. And someone came out during the parliamentary proceedings and said they actually didn't get the 7,000 shillings when their eyeballs were scanned by WorldCoin. They actually got 2,000 shillings. So I'm wondering, what's your take on actually, first even, you being promised money for your eyeballs being scanned? Is it to identify you as a human, or is it to get some sort of information out of you? Would you pay that kind of, would you accept for your eyeballs to be scanned?
First of all, I'm going to start.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Because I do think so that as Africa, there's a couple of us who actually know how wealthy we are. Yeah? But there's so many people who do not know the wealth there is in data. This Sam Altman was even named by Times as one of the biggest influential people in the world for this chat GPT and even in AI, one of the biggest influential people in AI, okay? So he is very aware that in other countries, Europe, many countries, they are very protective of their data. The richness there is in data here, whoever can harness the data in Africa. Because if we can harness our data as Africa, Africa will forever change. It will forever change, because there are so many diseases we'll treat like that. There are so many things governments will organize in ways that we don't even know. So therefore, yeah, this guy, in terms of the people who went to get this, because they don't know, but this guy is very clever. It's data. It's about data.
It's about collecting
data.
And not identifying whether you're human or not.
No, it's the data. Look, a very good example. Look at, and let me talk about my mother, who died last year in February. She was here for medication, and then she traveled to the village. So around about 4 o'clock, she developed complications. She had a heart problem. And that particular day, my phone was actually off. Yeah? So when I put it on, I found like 1,000,001 calls. But by the time I was getting that call, it was late. I think she was already gone. Do you know what they wanted to find out from me? What medications was she on? Do you know there's not a single unified health data where you just click of a button, you can know, oh, this patient was on this medication, whether they were being seen in Turkana or they were being seen wherever. Can you imagine whoever harnesses that data, the first person to harness, what they will, there's a lot of wealth.
Yeah,
within our disorganization, there's a lot of wealth. So don't even think politicians are being good with us, the government is being good with us by protecting the irises that have been scanned. Somebody wants to dominate that area.
So information is power.
Someone wants to dominate it.
And you're passionate about this, and you're checking, but
yes, data. It's not about that your irises were scanned.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Dr. C, because for sure, for someone to pay you 7,000 or 2,000 shillings for just your iris to be scanned, what is it they're getting from that? That is the question, because you get paid from you're buying something or something like that. That's when, you get paid from giving something out. So what is it that the WorldCoin was getting? Information, data, as you're saying.
And we Kenyans don't primarily even hold data even as a big issue. Oh, you just want to scan my eyeballs? Go ahead, take both of them. Which you want to get 14 of? Give me 14,000.
What else do you
want?
Let's talk about science. And sorry, I know I'm dominating on this thing.
Go ahead.
Let's talk about science. You know the father of anatomy. The father of anatomy. My husband is there in the audience. The guy who actually wrote the book, I wanted him to remind me, was it Michelangelo? Do you know he would actually go in the morgue, sit, and actually draw, open those bodies, dead bodies, draw each and every muscle. These kind of people are normally considered as mad, because they are going to do things even to humans so as to advance the next level of humanity. You understand? So this particular guy, it might not just be the iris. There's another next stage. This AI, we're going to reach a point where there's humanity and then there's the hybrid AI. Perhaps we're already going there, and you alluded to us changing to beat the environment.
Yes.
So
there's a lot much more, yes.
They even complained that they are having health issues over the scanning of...
Do you really believe them?
So I'm wondering, CEO, what is your take on that?
So basically, I think Dr. C has really executed it very well. So my problem is that why did this guy decide to come to Nairobi to do this? His argument is basic, and he said that it's because of internet connectivity. We are used to all this. We are fast. We are trendy. We are all these things. But the question is, our laws on data protection. Forget about mining data. You cannot allow a foreigner to come and set a company and mine data from public without education, sensitization, and what that data is being used for. So there's a lacuna in our law, because when the WorldCoin came, they came and registered as a part of the companies. And the Companies Act does not expressly discuss about what we call data protection. This Office of Data Protection Commission, there's a lady Kasait who sits there, and when they went to register, she did not give them that express way to collect our people's eyesight, or what do you call it, eyeballs. And
eyeballs, yes.
So the problem is, what I'm looking at is that ordinarily as Kenyans, you go to a school to take your daughter, or you go to visit a hospital or somewhere, and someone asks you, andika jina, your ID number, andika your, what else, your phone number.
Yeah.
So you are leaving all your details. When you leave your ID, you leave your phone, and you leave your name to a stranger in a gate. That's why conmen are going and calling people every day, because they just go and feed that data, and with this data needs to be protected. The person who collects that data, before this WorldCoin came, we need new data laws which prohibits even people taking your data and using it. That's why you go to a hospital and you see we have an offer. Someone has sent you a number and everything. Oh, can you buy this? Oh, people are collecting data left, right, and center. But that data is falling into the wrong hands. So in Kenya, our biggest problem, and the WorldCoin people knew that there's a gap. They couldn't do it anywhere else with that lacuna. They knew in Kenya there's a gap. People collect data, even on the roadsides. What is your name? Simon Size.
Yeah.
What number? What is your phone number?
Yeah, exactly.
Tafadhali andika ID. He's collected your data.
Yeah.
So when I go to match your ID, your name, and your everything else, it will show me Simon says he went to school here. I have everything about you. So what we need to do is, first of all, to go back to the drawing board. This WorldCoin thing should teach us that we need proper laws in this country on data protection. Proper laws to guide the Kenyan population from being misinformed, mistreated, and getting the raw end of this, the short end of the stick. For now, you'll get 7,000, but your data will be used as a guinea pig for the whole of the irises, which they will develop.
Humanities.
Yeah, that's true.
Moral of the story,
is what?
if you're going even at a gate, you're being asked your number, you can give the correct phone number, don't
the
give
fake
the
number.
right ID.
Yes.
If I give you my right ID number, you'll not get my right
number.
phone number.
Yes.
Usually I'll give the wrong ID and give you maybe the right phone number.
Or alternate them.
Yeah.
That's key. But then even when it comes even to data, there's a lot of even people who are even wondering, why is nobody even looking for my number? And these are the ladies out there. These are some interesting ladies out there who are in Nigeria. Let me tell you, some single ladies, you ladies are not single. Some ladies are out here, El Nino is coming. Then that weather is going to change. And these have become wet and cold, and eventually you're going to have to stay in the house. And some of them are wondering, will I be able to stay in the house all by myself? And would I be singing like Akon, I am so lonely? But so what do? They ran off to church and actually started singing, praise the Lord, Lord Jesus, come through for me. I need my husband before the end of this year. By the way, your New Year's resolutions, do you even still remember them?
Yes.
Crickets. Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Congratulations. But that's the thing. Some of them even don't remember. Some of them are screaming like, oh my goodness, end of year is coming and I don't yet have a husband. Now, even when it comes to even some of these young ladies out here, I just want to say, because you guys are already booked and taken care of, when it comes to these ladies who are now gone to the extent of even going to church, praying to the Lord, Father God, where is this man that even you promised me in the beginning of the year? Where is he? Because I see no hope. Where do you think these ladies have even lost their ways when you've gone to the extent of even going to church, even wearing a wedding dress?
Have you forgotten in Kenya, there was somebody who landed. First of all, we used to have someone called Moon, who landed and he said, you're going to land and you come in your wedding dress and you get married. Perhaps you were not born, but there was something like that. In another incident, somebody actually said, we're having a mass, something at KICC. Do you know KICC was full of single ladies who were going to get a husband?
Hey, we are the prize, man. Men, we are the prize. You see, they're looking for us. They're looking for us, man. You see?
No, it just means you're not the prize, actually.
There is
a shortage. There is a shortage in this world, perhaps, and not just looks like it's not in Kenya alone, of credible men.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, wait, before even I give a rebuttal to that, go ahead. What would you say about ladies who are actively even out here going to church seeking
what Dr. C is talking about that pastor is in 2013 is Pastor Ojigbani from Nigeria who came to Nyayo and KICC.
I was born then.
2013. I'm very good with my dates, numbers, and all that. So when Pastor Ojigbani came, he promised that many women flocked to get their husbands. I don't know whether they got or not. But the truth is that I don't see anything wrong with people. If you want to get married, you have to look for where you'll get your husband. I have no problem with it. That's why women go to clubs. If you can get your husband from a club, well and good. Others have failed in the clubs and they've gone to church. Others have failed in churches. They have gone to social places. Others have failed in social places.
They've gone to apps.
I've gone to apps. And
Or
the apps,
picking a matchmaker like
is
me.
matchmaker. So for me, what I'm saying is that it is not the method of landing you a man is not prescribed. But what I know is that if you get yours, treat him well, because the level of, there are very many men also who want to get married,
Of course.
but first they don't have resources. If you can't feed yourself, how would you feed someone else? You don't have a job, you don't have money, you are willing to get married. But also the person who is coming also expects equal treatment of you have to provide, you have to have a house, and all those things you don't have. So I think that what Dr. C was saying is that you do not have eligible men to marry all these women. So there's a disappropriation of, there are more chicks who are going for few men who have the money and resources to marry them. But there are more men who have nothing but are willing to marry but cannot get that opportunity.
And that's a good point, CEO, because it's just also in the population that we have. We have more women than men. So that's why you're seeing women going in as second wives, third wives, because there are not so many men and also not eligible men.
Yes, yes.
Bono ko single?
Here's the thing. No, I don't want. I don't want you as a responsibility. I don't want that. No, you're not my responsibility. Here's also the other thing. There are also even men out there. I do not want that. When you're my child, no, I do not want that. And even entitlement to my time and energy, nah, I ain't got time for that. The main thing is, even I would even say this, even as the men out there, women are single, who are the prize, who are being chased out there. Men, you are being prayed for. Congratulations to you. And I want to remind you that indeed you are something special. Even if they tell you that you're ineligible, you're eligible.
Men, you're not
and
the prize.
Is, yes, we are. You got to speak life into men if you actually want the men that you're actually out there. Constantly castigating men out there has become a rapport. It has become a mantra in the sense that even it's become even a bad narrative out there to even guys. That's also even a narrative I want even to end. The main thing even I would even say is that the ladies who are going out there even dressed even in their wedding dresses to church, I would even say is that they're being deluded, even giving a sense of delusion by these pastors in a false hope in the sense that you will come dressed in your wedding dress. By the time you leave here, I tell you, sister, you will come out with your man. He will be outside that gate with the wedding ring, kneeling down. I see it for you.
Amen.
Wow, and you're not even a woman of character. You need to buy now. Even you know that very well. And the main, even if that's the truth, because even as you say that there are many men out there who are maybe actively seeking a marriage and not even equitable, there are even women out there who are actively seeking marriage and actually not able to see, they're actually not credible or even not women of character to even be in that role of even being a person who could actually be married to. Why would this man want to go out of his way to even see you as a credible person to not only offer his resources, his time, his energy, and his life? Because you have to literally lay down your life for the person that you actually want to bring into your life, so that now even see that indeed you are someone credible, you are someone worthy of my time, my energy, my resources, and even me as a whole human being, so that I could accommodate you within my life. So yes, men, even indeed, they may say that you're worth it, whatever. No, there's some good men out there who are actively going, and the desperate ladies, guy, why? I see that these issues, but do not be delusioned out here by pastors. Where? That can also be a true thing.
It's true, but remember that...
that butt, where?
Remember that...
that butt with one cheek.
remember,
Marriage is so funny.
remember, and before you come, Joyce, remember that I do not castigate women who go to... You know, people have really suffered. You are 28, you are 29. You've tried all means possible to get a husband. It has not been coming through. So this is your last chance saloon. You walk into that and you wear that wedding dress. I do not want to castigate them. If you have to wear that dress, please wear it.
It's being single that bad, really.
Even 20, yeah, it's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's being single that bad, really. Like for you, by the way.
To realize.
But marriage is, I don't know.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful, but those who are out want to get in.
They don't know what is
bad.
there.
Yeah,
Yes.
And those who are in, I can see the
some
struggles.
of those who are in, some of those.
I can see the struggles.
But Simon, remember that it is not about people who are getting in and out. Remember, the society expects. It's about expectation. We are living in Africa. A father of a 30-year-old woman is laughed upon in the villages, in our villages.
Yeah.
In our villages, if you go and your 30-year-old daughter comes home, the moment you reach 25, Joyce will tell you, unatuletea mtu lini? That's the first thing they're asked. You reach 30, Now they get really worried.
But hasn't that changed?
Where?
So
In
many
the
people.
villages.
No, it has. In my village where I come from,
Yes.
there's so many families who've had their daughters get married, and those daughters have lived such miserable lives that they've had to come back home. That nobody cares anymore. In my village, nobody cares.
And
Like,
even
no
even
one cares.
Even I go further than that.
Yeah.
Why in the world would I adjust my life for your convenience? As I said to you, because you're more up. I am living my life. I
Then
choose
stay
what.
single.
No. Even yes, and even something even I would say. Even an uncle of mine even recently asked me, "Hey Simon, where is that a wife and everything?" For me, I just look at you straight in your face. I have my own timeline, and if you are not conversant with that, then even I would even seek it even for you to actually now consider the sense that I am making decisions for my life. I am not living my life for your convenience, and in any way.
Now you've
have I
answered
even-
me correctly.
Yes.
That even your uncle asked you.
Yeah.
And that's what I would ask Dr. C. They
can
might
ask.
not tell you because you're not there every day. But those young girls, if you go to your village today, they still suffer the same.
They say, oh, well, they may.
They say-
And that's why it's very important that, you know.
They will not tell you that, when you go, they tell you, at a squeezy, we don't care whether you're married or not. You turn your back, they tell you, this one.
I know what you mean.
Usikue kama mtoto wa ule.
Yes.
wa huyo.
But you see,
Yes.
people will always talk. People will always talk. But when you look at all the mature people, especially the mature people with the children, it's a really big problem. Marriage, like getting a suitable marriage partner in the traditional way that we look at, who will come sweep you off your feet, come and do the right thing, the dowry, give the white wedding, and you go off with respect, and the women get the white sheets and whatever, and you keep visiting. It's very, very, like, it almost doesn't exist.
And
And
that's what-
most parents, you know, it used to be, it's the same thing as when fathers never used to educate their daughters. A lot of people now are realizing it's daughters who are actually looking after their parents in the village. And the story of girls has changed. And this is a story that has changed. This marriage thing, people want to
Dr.
get
C.
married, but
Dr. C,
yeah.
Say
do you know women who are even paying for these men to marry them? Or you are living...
You're a man, so you should know. My
There are
husband
many
is
women...
there.
But I think that's the utmost. That's
Have you
idiocy.
heard of
That's
women who
idiocy.
actually-
That's
No, no, no.
idiocy. That's idiocy. Why are you even saying that even with a straight face?
No,
That's
but it's-
idiocy. And you
On
know
the
it.
idiocy
And you
level?
look at your eyes and
Listen,
you know it.
listen.
I see the producer is like, we are time up.
There are
Time's
women...
up.
Listen, Simon. Women actually are paying for men.
Yeah.
Even the bride price.
Well, but
in
that's-
this country.
And that's idiocy.
So,
And they should stop it.
producer says, time up, sorry, I'm gonna be real. The real thing is that we are time up. It's been real, guys. Thank you for joining us. Join us next time, every Sunday, 10 p.m. And if you're any woman paying for a man to marry you, please write and tell us
Stop that idiocy.
what is motivating. Thank you.